Celebrate good times, come on the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. Welcome back, welcome in. It's great to be with you once again this week. I am your host, Blair Parks, and thank you for joining me on the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog, where we celebrate, discuss all things college football, but with an emphasis on the black and gold squads of the Missouri Tigers from the SEC and the Iowa Hawkeyes from the Big Ten. And wow, that's all I'm going to say. I've got so much more to say about what Week 6 brought us. If you've been watching my episodes, you know that Week 6 I entitled the main course of our 4-course meal. And wow, what a fine dining experience some of us experienced. If you were dining in Norman, Oklahoma, if you were in College Station, Texas, if you were in Lexington, Kentucky, or Iowa City, Iowa, woo! Woo! Ric Flair style 5-star review. Welcome to our Week 6 review show. It is great to be back here with you, and what a week, good Lord, what we just experienced and observed, especially the result of one of our black and gold squads. We got a lot to talk about. Before I move forward, thank you once again for being here with me, for giving me some of your time, your attention. Let's get the word out there to all black and gold fans across this great nation, across this globe. So if you could, I'd appreciate if you like, subscribe, share. Let's get the word out there. And it's always a pleasure to be here with you. So today, I've got 4 topics to share with you, and I'm going to switch the formatting up a little bit. Up until this point, with the show, the only really negative feedback I have gotten is sometimes, Blair, you just don't shut up. You get a little long-winded, your show goes a little bit long. If it's an hour or more, it just gets tough for me to have time to watch. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try something different. This is my guinea pig week, so I'm going to break up the show into 3 episodes instead of the normal 2. So you'll be able to have a midweek show, which will be some of the usual segments that I've done. And then the end of the week show will be the normal preview for the upcoming week, which will be Week 6. So let's go ahead and focus on the Week 6 review right now. The topics I will be sharing with you, I've got out of the gate my quick takes and highlights from the weekend that was. Then I'm going to unveil to you the updated AP poll from those results. And then I'm going to give you a little bit of analysis, insight, and commentary on how our black and gold squads did this weekend. And then I'm going to revisit how it went with Week 6 Pick'em segment. Another surprise, another upset in the making potentially for our Pick'em. So let's dive right on in. So, with my quick takes, the first thing I want to give credit where credit is due. I always start with the streakers. That's right, the Frank the Tanks. They've got first dibs on this episode. So let's go ahead and look at some streaks that either continued or ended with the action on the gridiron during Week 6, the main course over the weekend. So let's start with the streaks that continued. Wake Forest wins again, tough win, challenged on the road at Syracuse. They do pull off the victory, I believe, in overtime. They improved to 6-0, the highest ranked team in the ACC. Who saw that coming? So they are 6-0 for the first time since the Great War, World War II, 1944. Keep it up, Demon Deacons, well done. So that streak continues. Mac Brown, unfortunately, if you recall, North Carolina came into this season ranked number 10, had high hopes. They had high hopes, but they have fallen completely flat. They were ranked number 10 to start the season, And with the loss over the weekend, they fall to 3-3 on the season. Sam Howell was one of the expected Heisman Trophy finalists. He actually was one of my picks to be there as a finalist. That is completely gone kaput. So what happened over the weekend? North Carolina hosted Florida State. And unfortunately, Mack Brown, the head coach of North Carolina, with another loss to Florida State. He is now 0-11 against his alma mater, Florida State, going back to his first stint as the head coach of North Carolina, and then before that at Tulane when they would face off with Florida State. So Mack Brown, unfortunately, your streak continues. You're 0 against your alma mater. Another streak that continued, and I will put a caveat on this one. It's more of a trend than a streak, but I think it qualifies. Scott Frost and Nebraska. It was a tough game. A very good, highly contested ball game that happened in Lincoln, Nebraska, Saturday night. Michigan did pull out a 3-point victory. It was decided late. Field goal. There was a awful Nebraska turnover once again, setting up the winning field goal by Michigan. But with that loss, Scott Frost is now 5-16 as the head coach of Nebraska in one-possession games. Just a brutal tidbit there. I mean, that stat is absolutely puzzling, and it's sinking, just like the Titanic of old. So, and also a little side note, with that loss, Scott Frost, while he's been the head coach of Nebraska, that team is now 10-20 in Big Ten Conference play. Just brutal. Will he survive this season and the offseason? Time will tell. So unfortunately, that streak, that trend, definitely continues for Scott Frost in one-possession games. Next one is I want to give some shout out to Oklahoma. A great game. This year's edition of the Red River Rivalry was action-packed, instant classic. I'll give you more commentary on that here soon. Stay tuned. But with that victory, and Oklahoma pulled off the miraculous comeback against Texas. With that victory, Oklahoma now has a 14-game win streak, which is now I believe, one of the longest in the nation because of something else that transpired Saturday night. Once again, just hang on to your butts. We'll get there soon. So well done, Oklahoma. And Iowa. Woo! To quote the late, great legend Hayden Fry, how about them Hawkeyes? Definitely going to talk more about the game. To me, all eyes, the college football world was watching Iowa City for Iowa Penn State Saturday. But with the Iowa victory, the Iowa win streak has now reached 12 games overall, dating back to last season. And the streak is still intact. It has now reached 28 games straight. The Iowa defense has not allowed 25 points or more for 28 straight games. An absolutely remarkable stat for a defensive unit. Regardless if you're a Power 5 level or non-Power 5, Division 2, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, okay? 28 games is 28 games against Division 1 opponents. Awfully impressive. For all you haters out there who still want to say, well, it's Iowa, they're in the Big Ten, who are they playing? That's offensive juggernauts. It doesn't matter, okay? 28 games is impressive no matter how you look at it. Give props, mic drop to the Iowa defense. And another streak that continued, and this is kind of a somber news. Once again, I come out of the gate swinging, throwing punches. Now I got to bring it down a little bit. So goes the ups and downs of this show. But unfortunately, UConn and UMass, the battle of undefeateds on Saturday, actually winless, so undefeated from the loss column perspective. So the clash of the two winless teams, UConn came out on the short end of the scoreboard. They lost to UMass. So UConn's losing streak has now reached 11 straight games. Now, This goes back to the 2019 season. Last year, UConn did not play football, but they have lost 11 straight games now, unfortunately. But have hope. This coming week, a game I might talk a little bit more about later in the week for the Week 7 preview show, is they've got a good chance. This week, they play mighty Yale from the Ivy League, from the FCS level. So maybe UConn can join the ranks of the winning side, just end this streak. So hopefully next week during the review show, I can mention UConn streak ending. So good luck, UConn, moving forward. You should be able to take care of the nerds in Yale. But we've seen stranger things happen. So now let's move on to streaks that ended. And this is going to set up my next, further on in this segment, as far as the highlights from Week 6. UMass, I got to mention the flip side of it. UMass, with their big victory over UConn, they see their 16-game losing streak end, going back to the 2019 season. So well done, Minutemen. You pick up a win. And if you haven't seen the post-game video in their locker room, it's absolutely breathtaking. It's euphoric. These are grown men acting like children on Christmas morning. I mean, the happiness, the euphoria, the celebration, it is classic. And that is what makes this sport so unique compared to anything else that we have in this nation. If you right now are not paying attention to this college football season, or if you're one of those who believe that it's not entertaining, it's not high quality, it's not passion, then you must be sleeping. All right, this has been such an awesome season, not just because of the early success of my Iowa Hawkeyes, but just in general, everything that has transpired, a season like none other so far. So check out that video. But kudos, well done UMass to end your streak. Michigan, with their win Saturday night, they recorded their first ever victory in Lincoln, Nebraska. So well done, Michigan. Now, streak that ended is Nick Saban. And if you've been paying any attention, you know what happened Saturday night down in College Station, Texas, between #1 Alabama and Texas A&M. Nick Saban saw his winning streak against former assistants end. It had peaked at 24-0, a perfect record against former assistants. But with the win Saturday night, Texas A&M and Coach Jimbo Fisher becomes the first former assistant to beat the previous boss. The trainer, the master, the Padawan finally has ousted the Jedi. So well done, Coach Jimbo Fisher. And also, with the loss, Alabama as a team, and when I say this, folks, pay attention, because this is a number that we may never see again in our lifetime. Up until Saturday night, Alabama had won 100. That's 100. They had recorded 100 straight victories against unranked opponents. That is mind-blowing. My mind is blown. I knew they had a pretty significant streak, but 100 straight games. We may not see something like this for quite a while, folks, at the Division I, Power 5 level especially. So with the loss, those two streaks concerning Alabama come to an end. Coach Saban and the team's streak against unranked opponents. So now let's move into the key matchups. Some analysis and commentary on how they played out. Number 13, Arkansas, traveled to number 17, Ole Miss, which I deemed the bounce-back bowl. The previous week in Week 5, both of these teams had marquee matchups within the ACC. Both failed miserably. Arkansas got spanked, got shut out at Georgia, and Ole Miss could not travel to Alabama and take down mighty Alabama and Coach Nick Saban. So the Bounce Back Bowl was full of drama. And if you like offense, this was right up your alley. It was defense optional. Ole Miss would come out on the winning end, 52-51, because Arkansas, on last play of the game, opted to go for the 2-point conversion to claim victory in Oxford, could not convert. Ole Miss wins by 1 point. So just action-packed game. If you just watched the 11 o'clock noon games, you were happy. I mean, throughout the entire day, it might have been one of the best weeks of college football that I can remember. But big time, 52-51, big victory for Ole Miss and Coach Lane Kiffin. Next is number 2, Georgia traveled to number 18, Auburn, which is the South's oldest rivalry, by the way. Georgia continued to look invincible like Stretch Armstrong, got the victory on the Plains at Auburn, 34-10. Headline news off the teletype. Georgia allowed an offensive touchdown, which is only their 3rd allowed all season. So Auburn did find the end zone once on offense against that vaunted Georgia defense. And side note, one of those 3 touchdowns was actually via pick 6. So not really concerning having the Georgia defense on the field at the time. So they've allowed 2 touchdowns on defense all season. Just remarkable. Wow, but then again, and it really is scary. This Georgia defense may not have peaked or found their complete rhythm yet. Potential Heisman Trophy finalist quarterback JT Daniels did not play again this week. That's 2 straight weeks he's missed, but it really hasn't mattered. I mean, they are absolutely a wrecking ball. They come on like a wrecking ball. They're the Miley Cyruses. They're taking care of business and looking really good. And to me, they are absolutely the best team in the nation as of right now. Next key matchup, Notre Dame at Virginia Tech. Talked a little bit about this one during the preview show last week. In their version of musical chairs, quarterback style, Notre Dame found the winning formula to leave Blacksburg with the victory, 32-29. Very close, highly contested game. Notre Dame was revolving quarterbacks throughout the game. They found it, and when they needed it, Jack Cohn was clutch, and they leave Virginia Tech with the victory. The Red River rivalry, number 6 Oklahoma and number 21 Texas meeting in the Texas State Fair, the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. Wow, what an addition, what a treat we had for this rivalry this year. I mean, it was off the chain. Trailing 28-7 after the first quarter. Texas was up big, and I pretty much thought this game was over. Those same thoughts crept into my mind about where is the Oklahoma offense, where's their defense, another typical Big 12 kind of caliber conference year, all offense, no defense. So I thought this game was primarily already wrapped up. But by halftime, Texas was still up big, 38-20, but when the bell sounded, when the buzzer went off, Oklahoma, with an epic comeback, comes back and wins this game. What was the final score? 50, I think it was 52. Let me see here real quick. Thought I had it written down. I don't want to be misquoted. Oklahoma did come back and win, but let's just go ahead and see. Let me check here. I thought I had it written down someplace. I left that out. I just don't want to be misquoted. It was 50, I believe 52, 55-48. Once again, defense optional, and it played out the way that I said it would, potentially, during last week's preview show. The team that had the ball last was going to claim victory, and that's exactly what happened. Oklahoma converted a long touchdown run with 3 seconds left to ultimately win. But the big news in this one is the benching of Heisman Trophy finalist, the leader right now via Vegas, Spencer Rattler, was benched. What is the fallout going to be with the benching of QB Rattler? We'll talk about it later this week during my midweek show. So, big-time victory for Oklahoma, and that was the largest comeback by either team in this annual rivalry. So just once again, another compelling must-see TV game at 11 o'clock noon, depending on where you're you reside. LSU at number 16, Kentucky, an absolute beatdown by the Wildcats over the Tigers in Lexington. This sets up a monumental, gargantuan matchup this week when undefeated Kentucky travels to undefeated Georgia. To the winner goes the spoils in the catbird seat for the SEC East title. We'll see how that plays out. Check back later this week for the Week 7 preview. But things keep getting worse for Coach Ed Orgeron, go Tigers, and the LSU Tigers. More on that later this week during the midweek show for updated storylines and headlines. But, yeah, I mean, final score was 42-21. They continued to flex on a national stage. Well done. And the last time Kentucky got out to a 6-0 start, little side note for history, the coach who was on the sidelines for Kentucky, maybe you've heard of him at some point, the Coach Bear Bryant, Paul Bear Bryant. There we go. A little bit of history there, a little nugget for you. Number 1, Alabama and Texas A&M. They faced off in College Station, Texas. Yes, they do lose occasionally. Alabama does lose. The last few weeks, the Texas A&M offense had looked absolutely inept, looked like primordial ooze. But now, I mean, major concerns in Tuscaloosa. I mean, nobody saw this game coming. They were a double-digit favorite on the road. They lose ultimately on a walk-off field goal, 41-38. The Alabama vaunted defense gave up 41 points to this previously handicapped-looking offense. An offense that scored 10 points at Colorado and 10 points against Arkansas in the last few weeks. And put up 41, a 41 donut on Alabama. Big-time concerns for the Alabama defense. And plus the Alabama offensive line. I have never seen a Nick Saban-coached Alabama team get absolutely whipped like they did on both sides of the ball in the trenches. The Alabama offensive line gave up 4 sacks and 5 tackles for loss and allowed 5 quarterback hurries. That is unheard of for an Alabama offensive line unit. So big-time issues. How does Alabama respond? Do they regroup and retool? They better, because now for them to make the playoff, it's pencil thin. Their room for error. They have to probably win out from here out to get in, which means getting to the SEC title game, defeating Georgia or Kentucky, whoever is there, to get in. One more loss, and they are out. Just with Clemson and also with Ohio State having an early loss, this is absolutely monumental what's going on in college football this season. You got to start paying attention, folks. Lastly is the game. Number 3 Penn State, number 4 Penn State at number 3 Iowa. What a game it was. The hype, it lived up to every little bit of it and then some. I'm going to talk more about this in my next segment. But before we move on to the next segment, I do want to give some quick shout-outs. Teams that still remain undefeated, the unusual suspects, SMU, San Diego State, and also UTSA. They join Cincinnati and Coastal Carolina, all undefeateds, remaining from the non-Power 5. Excellent job. Keep winning. Keep it up. Now, is that enough? Did UTSA actually break into the AP poll this week? Let's find out right now. So here we go. The updated AP poll post Week 6, entering Week 7. Welcome. Texas A&M makes their return back to the AP poll after their victory over Alabama. They were the only new face that showed up in this week's AP poll. Moving up, Kentucky, with their victory over LSU, moved up 5 spots. Ole Miss and Arizona State, both victors, moved up 4 spots. Cincinnati and Oklahoma both moved up 2 with their big victories, and the Iowa Hawkeyes moved up 1 spot. Moving down, nasty, ugly loss at home. BYU loses at home to Boise State. They dropped 9 spots in the AP poll. Texas, Arkansas, and Alabama, with losses, all dropped 4 spots. Penn State, with their loss to Iowa, dropped 3 spots. And moving out, the only team that is out of the rankings that was in the rankings last week is Auburn, losing at home the way they did to Georgia. So let's go ahead. Let me unveil it, how it lined up. 25-1, 1-25, depending on how you look at it. Number 25 is Texas, 24 San Diego State, 23 SMU, 22 NC State, 21 was the Texas A&M Aggies, welcome back. 20 is the Florida Gators, 19 the BYU Cougars, 18 Arizona State, 17 is the Arkansas Razorbacks, 16 Wake Forest keeps on moving up as they stay perfect, 15 Coastal Carolina, 14 Notre Dame, 13 Ole Miss, 12 Oklahoma State, who was idle over the weekend, number 11 Kentucky, number 10 Michigan State remains undefeated, absolutely throttled Rutgers in Piscataway. Number 9, Oregon. Number 8, Michigan. Big win at Lincoln. Number 7, Penn State. Number 6, Ohio State, who rolled Maryland. Number 5 is Alabama, after that loss at A&M. Number 4, Oklahoma. Number 3, Cincinnati. Number 2, thank you, number 2, is Iowa, and number 1 is Georgia. So definitely some movement in that top 10 after another crazy, crazy weekend. I mean, just look at the top 5. Cincinnati and Iowa are 2 and 3, folks. Just unheard of. I mean, this is absolutely what fans like me wanted. Fresh faces, new blood. I was tired of watching the same old movie, knowing how it was going to end with Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Georgia, Notre Dame. 4 of those were going to be in the playoff like they have been every season. This is exactly what we wanted as fans, unless you're a fan base of those aforementioned teams, which it still could happen. A lot of football to go. So my thoughts on this week's poll: why is Texas still ranked? You gave up 55 points. I get it, you lost to a highly ranked opponent on a neutral field, but you have no business being ranked. That's your second loss. Who have you beaten? Who can you say, oh, this is a good victory? Look at our resume. You haven't. Texas 4-2, should not be ranked. Just my thought. Agree, disagree. Comment if you'd like. Where is UTSA? Undefeated? Still can't crack the rankings. I don't think they're even receiving votes yet, from what I looked at. Just absolutely inexcusable. They're a conference leader that's undefeated. Where are they at? They deserve to be there more than Texas does. Just saying. Sorry, Longhorn Nation. It's the truth. Deal with it. Face it. And why is Ohio State still ahead of Oregon in the AP poll? I get it. Ohio State is looking very impressive, like the Ohio State of old, rolling people on offense. But it's been against Rutgers and Maryland the last 2 weeks. Teams that you have 100 times more talent than. I mean, you should be able to easily put up 50-plus points like they have. But why are they ahead of a team that beat them head-to-head in Columbus? Makes no sense to me. Not fair. Not at all. I don't agree with it, and I won't. And so you'll tune in for the midweek show. I give you my updated both team and conference power rankings, and you'll see if I've got Ohio State ahead of Oregon. Tune in later this week to see that. And also, still no movement from Coastal Carolina. They have been stuck in neutral right there in the mid-teens for weeks. They are absolutely throttling people. They are winning easy and big every single week. Now, yes, some of that could be from their schedule, which has been a little bit soft. But still, they are undefeated. And they are rolling along, but they just are not climbing the ladder at all. Chaos is a ladder, like Littlefinger says. So I don't see why there's no movement from them whatsoever. I mean, they have got to start leapfrogging some of these one-loss teams. They have to. I mean, they need to. They should. The other thing is, I've got to say this, and this may or may not affect my power rankings, my conference power rankings that I'll unveil midweek. For the first time ever in the AP poll era, dating back to the mid-30s, we have five Big Ten teams in the top 10. The most of any conference by far. The Big Ten is back. What a conference. Keep going. You make us proud, Big Ten. Let's get it done. So that is where we are for this week's AP poll. Definitely a lot of movement, and I definitely think post week 7, because week 7 is our final course coming up, our dessert, I expect there will definitely be even more movement the way it's gone this season so far. All right. So let's move into my next topic today. Let me get a quick swig of water. Just some feedback and analysis and commentary from how our black and golds fared this weekend, both Missouri and Iowa. And let's start with Missouri, because I want to leave plenty of time to discuss the big Iowa victory. No offense to Missouri, they're going to have their potential moment this week coming up. But it was a happy homecoming for Missouri, a game that they should have won, they needed to win, and they did win. They took care of the North Texas Mean Green by the score of 48-35. The D did hold North Texas to 188 yards rushing, which sounds like a lot, but that is much better than what the Missouri defense has been allowing in previous weeks. It has been absolutely dreadful, their rush defense. So to hold a Division I opponent under 200 yards definitely steps in the right direction. Now, I didn't watch a lot of this game, and I haven't been able to do a rewatch quite yet because this game was on the same time slot as the Iowa-Penn State game, and that's where most of my attention was. But just flipping back and forth, there were some big plays surrendered by the Missouri defense, which kept this game closer on the scoreboard than probably what it really was. Just got to tighten up those big plays. Keep the ball in front of you. This should have probably been more of a victory by 21 points or more. Just a few really big plays, some broken defensive assignments late in the game against that Missouri defense by North Texas. Overall, solid day for the Missouri offense, getting it done. Definitely much needed win, and they got it. They were expected to, and they needed this one to get to bowl eligibility. And their moment arrives this week. Coming into Faurot Field to Columbia, Missouri, is Texas A&M riding high off that victory over number 1 Alabama. And now they have to go on the road to sleepy Columbia, Missouri. Is it a potential letdown game for them? Can Missouri answer the bell, play the game, grab their moment, get that big victory that they definitely need? This program needs a signature win. Will it get done this week? Wait later this week. I'll look at this game more in depth during the Week 7 preview show. But they're going to have their potential moment. Iowa got their moment over the weekend. Now the ball is in Missouri's court, so to speak, for their big moment. So now Iowa. Woo! Once again, all I got to say, I'll say it again. How about them Hawkeyes? Now, after this victory, they find themselves the number 2 ranked team in the nation. Uncharted territory, waters for the Iowa football program. Highest ranking since 1985. But, man, what a game. What a game. The crowd was off the chain, off the hook. They were lit. Made it tough for that Penn State team to escape Kinnick with a victory. And I'm going to say this. There were some big-time plays in this game, none bigger than the play-action throwback pass from Spencer Petras to Nico Reganey, the go-ahead touchdown with 6.5 minutes to go. Was that the biggest play ever in the history of Kinnick Stadium? I don't know about all that. But was it a top 5 play ever in the history of Kinnick Stadium? You bet your ass it was. The moment it was a dude play, signature play, will always be remembered by Hawkeye fans, young and old. What a game. I mean, what a moment. I could just spend the whole episode talking about this game, but This was what we call a brand expanding, extending game. And this was usually in the past when Iowa has had all eyes on them for these big time potential victories that could expand the program's name brand. They have failed, absolutely took care of business. There will be absolute big time rewards reaped from this victory, not just in the poll and potentially where they could end up. I mean, there is a lot of playoff talk still. I'm not quite drinking that Kool-Aid yet. I know this is going to be a great season for the Hawkeyes. But as far as recruiting, they had several recruits in attendance for Saturday night's game. And the biggest one, I forget this young man's name, but he is the #1 offensive line recruit in the nation, has narrowed it down to Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Iowa. And those recruits who are in attendance, I don't care where they go and visit. I don't care what game they're hosted at, whether it's this team versus that team. Based on what they experienced at Kinnick on Saturday night, nothing is going to come any closer to that moment and that experience. And dudes recruit dudes. They will talk about the experience there, the crowd being as loud as it was, history being made on the field for Iowa. They talk amongst themselves. This will be a huge recruiting gathering because of this victory as well. Wow, the defense, once again, recorded 4 more interceptions. 4, that's 16 on the season. I mean, another one of these stats that is just unbelievable. 16 interceptions on the season in 6 games for the Iowa defense. That's more than most teams would get in a whole season. Any team would be happy to be anywhere near that for a season. But yet through 6 games, 16 interceptions. Just awesome. Spencer Petras completed 54% of his passes for 195 yards, 2 touchdowns to 1 pick. The pick, that's only his 2nd pick of the season, and that's the thing. That's what he needs to do. Now, this pick, the ball was thrown a little bit high, a little bit too much pep. It was a tip drill right into the hands of a waiting Penn State linebacker. But that is an average offense, and that's all they need to be, folks. They do that, they're going to be hard to beat. Just telling you. Tyler Goodson, 25 carries for 88 yards. Dude put in the work. I know 88 yards doesn't sound like a lot, but that was Iowa's game plan to chip away at that rock. Chip, 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 chip. That completely set up that big touchdown late in the game, which was the deciding factor, that play action throwback pass that I talked about. Because that's what the game plan was. Set up the run can set that up at the opportune moment, like Captain Jack Sparrow would say, and Iowa took advantage. I mean, I went back and I looked. Iowa ran 28 first down plays, and 20 of those were runs, chipping away at that rock, setting up that sort of a play action pass going for the jugular, and it came to fruition. The special teams, I think, they get an A+. The defense gets an A+. Special teams was 3 for 3, kicking field goals for Caleb Shudak. Tory Taylor, the punter from down under, keeps up. Maybe Tory Taylor for Heisman. What do you think about that, folks? 9 punts, 6 were inside the 20, and of those 6, 4 were inside the 10 for a 44-yard average. That's getting it done. That's field position. Offense average, I'd probably give you more like a C, C+, but that might be all you need. Now, before I praise, there is something that I do have to say. I know that, and as soon as this happened, I was at home watching the game with my wife and Charlie, my former co-host, who hopefully will come back at some point. And as soon as Sean Clifford left the game, late in the second quarter, actually it was about midway through the second quarter, the Iowa defense knocked out starting quarterback for Penn State, Sean Clifford. And at that moment, Penn State was looking very good. They were up 14-3. He leaves the game. The drive was in the Iowa. At the end of the drive, they kick a field goal, so they're up 17-3. He did not return After that, it was all Iowa all the time. So, and as soon as that happened, Charlie and I looked at each other and said, if Iowa comes back and wins this game, that's going to be the national narrative, unfortunately, is Iowa got lucky. They backdoored into another victory. It would have been different if Sean Clifford would be in there. Folks, that all goes away. And here's why. That's fake news. It's bantha fodder. If anybody who says that, they don't understand football, and here's why. Granted, it was 17-3, but it still was plenty of time left in the game. And Iowa's ensuing drive, they drive the length of the field for a touchdown, making it 17-10. So it's not like the game was out of hand by 24 points. It was a one-possession game, basically when Sean Clifford left the game. And to that point, he had thrown 2 interceptions. So it's not like he was lighting them up. He was having his struggles. Iowa could have very easily made the adjustments and shut him down as well. But yeah, their backup quarterback, definitely, this was not his moment. He might, at some point, Penn State's backup quarterback may end up becoming a great quarterback, but Saturday was not that day. I mean, he threw 2 interceptions, was never comfortable against that defense in that environment. So once again, saying that Iowa got lucky, it would have been different, no. You don't have solid ground to stand on, because Penn State they were and they still are. They're the 3rd best scoring defense in America, giving up 13 points a game to opposing offenses. So when he left, they were down 14 points. Iowa stormed back from 14 down against this vaunted defense. And then actually, if you want to be technical, they came back 24 points. In the third quarter, Penn State recorded the first scoring points of the second half, a field goal, making it 20-10. So Iowa coming all the way back against that vaunted defense, and it's not like Iowa is a world beater on offense. They're average at best. The better team won the game. And this whole narrative about, it's because he left, that's BS. Okay, it just is. I don't want to hear any more about that. These two teams could very easily meet up again in Indianapolis, and hopefully Sean Clifford does get back. I mean, I want good things for this Penn State squad. They really impressed me. Their defense might be a little bit better than Iowa's. Well, absolutely their defensive line is studly. I mean, these are dudes up front for Penn State. The linebackers, I think, are very comparable. No offense to linebacker you, but the Iowa linebackers are equal to what Penn State has. But Iowa's defensive backfield, absolutely better than Penn State's. And also, too, maybe complete contradiction for what I just said, that maybe Penn State's defense is slightly better, but only one defense gave up the big play on Saturday night. And it sure wasn't Iowa's defense. Boom. So what a victory. I definitely think Iowa now has a clear path to Indianapolis for the Big Ten title game. Some of you are saying to the playoff. Not yet. Still a lot of football to play. If they're able to take care of business this week at home, homecoming against Purdue, a Purdue team that is 3-1 against them since Jeff Brom became the head coach at Purdue. He's always schemed very well against Iowa. If they win that game this weekend, they're there 7-0 into their bye week. Then maybe I'll start to I'll drink more of the Kool-Aid for this playoff talk. But there's still a lot more football to be played. But what a win. Keep it up. Definitely we'll probably talk about this game more moving forward as well. So I'll quickly go ahead and summarize. My last topic is week 6 pick'em results. Our guest picker for the week was Caleb. He went 8-7. Charlie went 9-6. I still have my former co-host picks. We have our ongoing competition continuing. I went 8-7, so you're right. There it is. Charlie pulls the upset for the second straight week. The people's champion is on the bottom looking up. I got to get back on the top of the mountain for week 7. So stay tuned. You'll see how picks go for week 7, the preview later in the week. We all got the Georgia, Wake Forest, Ole Miss, Missouri, and Iowa games right. We all missed USC, UConn, Wyoming, and Toledo. We got those all wrong. Caleb got Villanova. Charlie and I both picked James Madison to win. He got Villanova. Charlie got none. I got Washington State. Both Caleb and Charlie picked Oregon State to win, so I got the Cougars. So on the season, I'm at 55 and 35, good for 61%. Charlie is 53 and 37, good for 59%. Our guest pickers, Brett was 11 and 4 for 73%. Anthony, my brother, was 10 and 5 for 67%. Brad was 8 and 7, 53%. Caleb, 8 and 7, also 53%. And this week we will have some other guest pickers with us. Yes, you heard right. It'll be plural guest pickers. Stay tuned. I'll let you know who that's going to be during the midweek show. And our trap games revisited. New Mexico at number 25 San Diego State. That was a miss. The Aztecs won 31-7. They traveled to the Spartans of San Jose State this week. Boise State at number 10 BYU. Direct hit on this one I got. Almost sinking your battleship. BYU lost 26-17. They traveled to Baylor this week. Next one, Florida State at North Carolina. Another direct hit. Already mentioned it. North Carolina and Mac Brown lost to Florida State 35-25. North Carolina hosts Miami this week. And last one, Stanford at number 22 Arizona State. Miss. The Sun Devils won at home 28-10, and they traveled to Utah this week in week 7. So that's my episode. Definitely expect the midweek show, probably Wednesday or Thursday morning, early afternoon. Thank you for being with me. Feel free, comment, like, share. Let's get the word out there. It's a pleasure as always. I'm still coming off what I witnessed on Saturday night. I mean, what a signature win, moment, history for the Iowa Hawkeyes. But until later this week, I'll see you in a few days. Take care, peace, prosperity, progress. I'll talk to you later. Thanks for being here on the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. See you soon. Bye.